Howdy.
Welcome to Hugo Girl, the podcast where we read Hugo Award-winning novels and sometimes other things, and also sometimes win a Hugo Award.
What? I can't wait to get them one day.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, and Happy New Year. This will be coming out.
Yeah.
The year of our Lord 2024.
Our first 2024 episode recorded at the end of 2023. And we were supposed to have, we're going to do like a little New Year's special where a friend of the pod, Anne, comes on and we're going to do something funny. But poor Anne got sick.
R.I.P.
So we're postponing maybe for like a week or two, but there will be something funny for y'all to listen to. I mean, not that we're not
In
already
theory.
funny. Yeah.
And our top lists of things, maybe.
Yeah. We'll do like a 2023 year in review.
You're a Hugo Girl wrapped.
Yeah. So that'll just be coming a little later in January.
Today I learned
it'll
that
be
you
fun.
cannot look up the history of your library rentals on the library website. So I have no idea what I read this year.
Oh, I use the Libby app and all of mine are on the Libby app.
Them
Oh.
hard books aren't recorded anywhere.
Oh, because you read real books. I just read ephemera. Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Although maybe it's not too bad. You know, the librarians are like, no, we won't store the data on people. Fuck you.
That's true.
So briefly, we heard from our friend Bob about Lord of Light, which is his very favorite book. And he said, and now I want to be very clear, this is a rumor. I could not corroborate it. Bob said it was probably a rumor he maybe remembered from a while back and also couldn't corroborate. But he said there was rumor that Roger Zelazny's wife left him for a woman. And that might explain why that book is so mean about lesbians. Yeah, I mean, it might. You know, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just mean about lesbians to be mean about lesbians. But yeah, I'm not trying to start any rumors here, but I'm just saying that.
But we are
Bob
going to
said.
repeat those
Yeah.
rumors that we heard.
I'm just saying that Bob said, and the text supports it if you believe in things.
Now,
like
I'm not
that.
one to gossip, so you didn't hear this from me.
So
but
I'm just saying
as
that's
I'm
our
talking to a microphone.
that's our retroactive soap stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we are talking about Spin by Robert Charles Wilson, and that was the winner of the Hugo Award in 2006. And there were some heavy hitters on the ballot that year.
Ooh, yeah.
The other finalists were Learning the World by Ken MacLeod, A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin, Old Man's War by John Scalzi, and Accelerando by Charles Stross. And another fun fact about the 2006 Hugo Awards are that our friend Allison Scott's fanzine Plokta won Best Fanzine that year.
Allison!
I know.
Okay.
Edited by Allison Scott, Steve Davies, and Mike Scott. I was super excited when I
see you,
saw that.
Allison.
Yes, when I saw that on the Hugo Awards page. And Connie Willis was the Toastmaster.
All con.
And if you hear little creeping noises, my dog is doing a lot of walking today. A lot of walking back and forth in this small room full of stuff and people.
You got places to be.
He does. That
here,
corner,
then back over
under
there,
the table, the
bark
other
here,
corner.
He just squeezed under my chair. He does not fit.
Oh yeah, and he bumped my butt.
Yeah.
He's very busy. He's getting his steps in before the end of the year. And his legs are short, so he has to take a lot of steps. Teddy, little sir.
There's a battle of wills going on. Kevin's trying to get him to sit. It's not
He
happening.
said I won't.
Okay. Good job, Allison. Okay. Brief summary. Not so brief.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened.
There's a lot that happens. I really struggled with this, and I thought about just like plucking it right off of Amazon or something. But I was like, you know what? This is the last one I'm going to do this year. I'm going to give it my best, which is probably not very good.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Done.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Spin is told across two timelines during the narrator's lifetime. One timeline covers the phenomenon known as the spin as it unfolds. And then there's another one taking place a few decades later after life has possibly reached some kind of stability under the spin. And the narrator's trying to sort of cope with that and make a new life for himself. And we're not super sure what his circumstances are at the beginning. Spin follows the story of three people, twins Jason and Diane, and their bestie Tyler, who is a poor kid living in their backyard, whose mother has an MBA, but for some reason spends her time scrubbing toilets for Jason and Diane's family. One night while stargazing, the trio noticed that the stars just went out, and thus begins the spin, an era during which time on Earth is moving really slowly, and time outside the membrane that blocked out the stars is moving really fast. 100 million years for every year that passes on Earth. Life on Earth changes rapidly, with the constant threat of doomsday hanging over humanity's head as the sun enlarges and nears death, bathing Earth in deadly radiation only shielded by the spin membrane. Telecommunications have to be entirely restructured, leading to a dramatic increase in wealth and power by Jason and Diane's domineering father, E.D. Lawton, who is always referred to by his full name. The twins also have a mother, but she's drunk and you don't need to worry about her or think about her too much because she's drunk. She used to be a medical doctor, but now she's a drunk. Tyler is the main character and narrator. He hates women. He is in unrequited love with Diane and is very annoying and basic about it. Diane, having no personality of her own, gloms onto a cult leader and occasionally takes phone calls from Tyler while keeping him firmly in the friend zone. Jason's job is just genius, and it is also his whole personality. As an adult, Jason sets about terraforming Mars and, because of the time differential, hopes that Martian humans will be able to solve the problem of the spin before the sun blows up and toasts our solar system. The end.
Okay.
And then things happen. And
The last 10 pages.
at least in this book, we don't get toasted because there are
True.
two sequels.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we don't get
That don't
toasted.
seem to involve Earth very much. I read their little plot summaries.
Huh.
People consistently have said that the sequels are kind of disappointing after this
Yeah,
one.
They seem to continue on into other time and space.
Okay. Anything you guys want? I mean, I know I left out a like 300 pages.
Glad we know exactly where you stand on all the main characters, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to sound like I hated this book and I didn't. But there are kind of two threads in this book. There's the spin and the space stuff, and then there's the family drama
Right.
and the romantic drama. And it was lacking for me in some ways, but I didn't hate this
Well,
book.
so much of the space, like you do get some of the science, but so much of it is speculative on the part of the characters. They're just sort of thinking about things.
Yeah.
And sometimes things happen, but not a lot.
So any plot points you guys want to add to that?
I might throw in the fourth thing.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I guess we'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. So the terraforming Mars thing does work, and we will eventually get to meet a Martian human, which is very interesting. The
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
that a Martian is a human.
Yeah.
There's a lot of neat stuff going on. And Jason is working for this quasi-governmental company that's run by his father. So his job is genius, but his job is also a Nepo baby. And the Mars terraforming thing works. Hijinks ensue. Galactic hijinks ensue.
True.
Okay. So goodies from Goodreads. This has an overall very impressive 4.03 on Goodreads. Anything that is a 4 or higher, it's done a lot of work to
Yeah.
get there. And I wanted to mention that when I was looking through the 1-star reviews, I just in like the 5th or 6th review ran across one from a friend. And I'm going to say his name the way John says it on Octothorpe. Christopher J. Garcia left a 1-star review and had tagged it as the worst. And had a pretty brief review, and I just plucked out a little bit of it. Chris said, I couldn't even get into any of the cooler concepts of the novel because the prose was like a wall. So, Chris, nice to see you on Goodreads.
It's so funny because, like, this book has got its faults, but if there's one thing, it's compulsively readable, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. It's a page turner
Yeah.
in which very little happens.
Yeah.
Well, I have one more, but I'll let you guys go first.
Oh, mine's real short. Their gamer gave it 2 stars on Amazon, and his review is pretty cute, but the title of his review is my goodie from Goodreads, which is, it's about terraforming Mars and Janae.
I thought about that too. It was so much like Forrest Gump.
I found a 3-star review and I excerpted it. Clouds, 3 stars. For me, the story would have been far more dramatic, tense, emotional, vivid, gripping. All the good things I look for in a story without Tyler. Why couldn't we just follow Jason and Diane firsthand rather than hearing a reduced and diluted version of their tales through wet rag Tyler?
I kept thinking the exact same thing.
We could have been seeing the life that inspired Jason's schemes, and those schemes are brilliant, rather than the everyday tedium that is Tyler. And that is true.
Yeah, that is not a bad
Tyler
point.
is basically the narrator from The Great Gatsby again.
Well, this is a really good segue to mine.
Okay.
Paul Bryant gave it 2.5 stars on Goodreads, and I've significantly condensed Paul's review. Dr. Humorless Dullard should be his name, not Tyler Dupree, which sounds like a guy who made 2 blues records for Paramount in 1928.
Tyler Dupree.
2 bad-tempered thoughts. The final big idea in Spin can also be found in Clifford Simak's lovely 1959 novella called The Big Front Yard. And there's a quote on the front cover of Spin, which must be the worst marketing quote ever. It says, quote, "The best science fiction novel of the year so far, Rocky Mountain News." So far? How do we know whether that review was in the February issue and they were expecting much better stuff next month?
That review does appear on my cover.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it until that.
Yeah.
They're hedging their bets for sure.
They're just leaving room for something better to come along. Okay. General discussion. Is there anything anyone is frothing at the bit to talk about first?
Frothing, no.
Yeah, I think like what I just said, like after reading Lord of Light and slogging through it, this was just like every time I would pick it up, I would read 50 pages instead of like, all right, 2 pages. Let's go.
It's very readable.
It is very readable. I actually don't dislike the prose.
Yeah.
I
didn't either, actually.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's like a little overwrought. Like
little
in some
repetitive,
places, it made me think of Michael Chabon. It made me think of the Yiddish
Too much
Policemen's
pizza.
Union. Too much pizza, and the
red heifer.
the whole red heifer thing. I was like, oh,
I was like, oh, we knew about this.
yeah. Well, and I was like, Michael Chabon was already on my mind.
Yeah, and lots of people have criticized the repetition thing, but I don't mind it in a book. Like,
It reminds us what's happening.
yeah, like Connie Willis, the bell. You know,
no
like-
kidding.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely worse things.
But did you know that Carol is a drunk?
Did you know that Edie's last name is Lawton?
ED, eating disorder, lot?
Eating disorder Lawton. Oh, that might be the title.
Yeah.
Martian also has wrinkly skin, in case you didn't know.
It's so wrinkly,
So
but not like old age wrinkles, like cantaloupe wrinkles, which I
Canyons.
actually thought was very helpful
It was
in
actually.
imagining him. But I pictured him like E.T.
I pictured him like Bautista from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh.
I pictured like a little Gary Coleman. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had issues with the way he was described in a lot of situations, but I mean, I don't know why we had to keep being told that he had perfect white teeth. It
Oh, I
bugged
don't remember
me.
that at all.
Oh, I
He
missed the
kept talking
teeth.
about his diction too, which also kind of bugged me.
Oh, I missed that too.
So there is, I think, a fair amount of very casual cultural insensitivity in this book. Like, and it's like we've often said, it certainly could be worse. But there were a handful of times where I was like, is that the best way to say that? Like when Jason is repairing a lawnmower when they're kids and he gets engine grease all over him, or motor, I don't know. Where does grease come from? Lawnmower grease. And Tyler describes him as covered in Maori tattoos of grease and
Oh,
oil.
yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
could you just say that he has streaks of grease and oil? Like Maori tattoos like mean something or important
yeah.
to the people who have them. So there were just like several moments like that where I sort of rolled my eyes. And again, I mean, it could be worse. There's 0 instances of, for example, the N-word in this book. And we
Yeah.
see that in some other books.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like
Yeah, I don't think he was.
just a little eye-rolly
I
to
definitely
me.
don't think he was trying to do anything.
No, I
together,
don't either. But I think it was just like it comes naturally.
Yeah.
And I think that is, part of white supremacy is when making like offhand reductive comments like that come naturally.
Yeah,
So
and
just something I noticed.
Also, the casual misogyny that you pointed out.
Yeah. Well, 2006 was not that long ago, but it was a long time ago culturally.
I know.
Like if you
That's
watch,
true.
It was almost 20 years ago.
if you watch TV shows from like the mid 2000s, they're rampant with homophobia and transphobia.
Yeah.
So
And we hadn't had Moana yet. So
That's true.
That's
the white people didn't know about the Maori.
That's true. We didn't. Yeah, it was funny. I was thinking about it, and I like people joke on the internet about how I'm stuck in the place of thinking 1980 was 20 years ago. So when you say 2005, when this was written in 2005, I'm like, well, that was but a moment ago.
20 years
but it was
ago.
actually almost 20 years ago.
Yeah,
that's true.
And that's 20 years of internet and
Yeah.
like change, like a lot of change.
2005 may as well have been 1995 in terms of like cultural differences.
Well, that
Probably.
was only 5 years ago. Let's see. About the writing, from the Goodreads review that I excerpted, that reviewer had complained about passages saying that Robert Charles Wilson must have been paid by the word. And I think, we've talked about that a little bit already, saying it was repetitive. But the example that he gave is actually something that I like. So the example that he gave was about the day that Tyler leaves Perihelion, the company where he's been working as Jason's personal doctor. I mean, his whole life just revolves around
I have so many thoughts about
None
that.
of these people really have a personality. But anyway,
Yeah.
he decides to leave perihelion, and the support staff summoned me into one of the now seldom used boardrooms for a farewell party where I was given the kinds of gifts appropriate to yet another departure from a dwindling workforce. A miniature cactus in a terracotta pot, a coffee mug with my name on it, a pewter tie pin in the shape of a caduceus. And I liked this
I did too.
because I think, well, first of all, it really captures office parties.
Yes.
The other thing that it says to me is that nobody knows Tyler at all. Like,
Yeah.
those are deeply generic. A coffee mug with your name on it. Oh, no.
Which that gets to what bugged me about his character.
Yeah.
And also, I think, honestly, what was supposed to be his character. Like,
Yes.
he's supposed to be an empty vessel through
Yes.
which we view everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I don't think it was an accident
Yeah.
that Tyler kind of sucks and it isn't very interesting.
but it also makes any attempt to humanize him very hollow because, like, he has this mother that dies and, like, he has almost no emotional reaction to that at all whatsoever, which is a little more alarming than the fact that he had almost no emotional reaction to his girlfriend of many years betraying him.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an odd character. Like, he's on one hand trying not to personalize him and on the other hand trying to personalize him, and I don't know if it worked.
there are events that I think are supposed to personalize him, but no interiority that personalizes
Yeah.
him.
I think the only thing is that he likes jazz.
He does like jazz,
He
and it
does.
opens doors for him.
That's true. Quite literally
Yes.
opens a hotel
At least
door.
one door.
Yeah.
What do you guys have?
I mean, a lot of my thoughts were about the characters because, I mean, the science fiction books, I think you hear this, a lot of the reviews I read that were negative sort of revolved around this, that it was another science fiction book that sidelined the characterization of people to the science
Yeah.
or to the idea. I don't know if that's altogether fair here. I think he was actually trying to develop these
I
characters.
do too.
Which
Yeah.
is, I think, why it bugged me. Because I think if he hadn't been trying so hard, it wouldn't have bothered me as much. But, like, these three people, I read this review that was like, given the time span of the story, it's hard to believe that none of the characters ever strays from the slot they've been placed in. The celibate genius is the vessel through which we learn about science. The emotionally lost sister embodies the everyman's fear of the spin and seeking solace in faith. The power broker father, the alcoholic mother. They're all one note.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what happens to them, they stay exactly the same. And I can't decide how harsh to be about that. Like, on the one hand, they did what he was trying to get them to do, which is compare science and faith, and I don't know. But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, I think what you said in that review, or what you said, I can't remember if it came out of your brain or out of the review.
The damp rag.
No, yeah, like, why did we have to view everything through this guy?
Yeah.
It's like a remove from all the
Might have
characters.
been good to have shifting points of view, like a Diane chapter, a
Yeah,
Tyler
like-
chapter, a Jason chapter, a one chapter. Oh,
that'd
love
be cool.
him.
Imagine.
I think that'd be on his skill set in terms of writing, but yeah. I found myself not caring about the characters because I love the science ideas so much.
Oh, agreed. Yeah,
So I think that really helped like float my boat, and maybe that's why people love Lord of Light. Like they could see past some of the problems with the prose because they like the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you just don't happen to like the idea, it's not going to hit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the science stuff is interesting enough to
fascinating.
carry
It's very
this book.
interesting.
I mean, it basically explains relativity. It touches on
It
terraforming.
really
It's so
does
cool.
explain relativity. I was like, okay, I almost understand this for a moment.
Yeah. I have one question or quibble. So, for every minute on Earth, it's like 100 years or something, or maybe more. So when One No Win leaves Mars, it's a 9-month journey in the best scenario, generally speaking, from Mars to Earth. Shouldn't he have arrived in humanity's like deathbed? I don't know.
Because time is moving so slowly for them.
Yeah, but like it didn't seem to make sense in my head. Maybe that's just
So, like,
simple, yeah.
he leaves Mars, like, he has his own relative time, too, right? So
Yeah.
he leaves Mars in his time,
Yeah.
travels 9 months his time, or however long it takes.
I figured once you leave Mars, then you're 9 months into like the big time.
I thought that
Yeah.
too. I didn't understand why once
but
he was
time
in space.
is moving normally outside, like, both times have their normal time, right? It's just that
Yeah.
comparative to each other, one's moving much slower than the other.
Okay.
So he leaves Mars in his own time, 9 months his own time, he travels. So Earth time, he left at 9:55 and arrived at 9:56, but his time 9 months passed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, he teed that up. Once you said that, Amy, it made sense to me
Yeah.
about the space station and how they felt that they were up there for 3 weeks, but our understanding was the space station plummeted to the ground basically 1 second after the stars went out.
Which is straight out of Contact when the thing falls.
Yeah. This reminded me a lot of Contact.
Somebody else in another review mentioned Contact because that also tries to talk about faith and science.
Yeah.
And does it in a much more
Contact is so good.
deep way.
Yeah.
And unlike the movie, the book, 5 people go in the little sphere. So the book is great.
Yeah, I think that book definitely does a better job with the faith versus science thing.
I'm surprised that didn't win a Hugo.
Because there's actually grappling with those things instead of just, I think this and I think this. And Tyler's friends with both of them and is like, I don't know.
Well, and also, like, I don't think the science or the faith gets very good shrift in this book.
Oh, no. The faith especially. It's just like a weird cult.
I mean, all Christians are cultists.
Yeah.
And, like, we get one kind of nice maybe Muslim. It's hard to tell if she's actually a Muslim or not. The
Ibuina.
Oh, yeah.
Ibuina. But Christianity not portrayed well. Yeah. Like, faith treated as something a dumb person would do, basically.
Well, but I was very confused at the beginning when John Scalzi did the intro, and then I was like, oh, this is completely exactly like COVID. Like, people would just be denying it.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, that made a lot of sense to me that people wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it does seem a little strange they wouldn't believe it since they can literally look up and see that the stars aren't there.
Right.
Well, that's like the movie Don't Look Up. They're like, just don't look up.
Oh, that's true.
That's true.
Oh, man, we're so dumb. Jeez. Oh,
Yeah.
what is it? To go back to Bob. Bob sent us that message one time about humanity's fate. We're ignorant and doomed.
Oh, we are. It's true.
Bob,
But
you're
also-
heavily featured on this episode.
So that's where this book is like on the beach. It's like when you can see your demise in slow motion, or the David Bowie song, 5 years. Like, if the world was going to end next week, there'd be rioting the streets, there'd be orgies. But, like, if we have 5 years, we're still going to need food for 5 years. Like, you can't lose your shit immediately. So.
Well, it's also interesting to think about because all of us know, quote unquote, scare quotes, that we're going to die, right? We all know that this is a finite amount of time we have here.
It would be funny if I just screamed.
What? What? Oh my God. So it's interesting. He kind of touches on this in the book, which I thought was an interesting thing to think about. It's like, we all know we're going to die. It doesn't always affect our day-to-day life, right? We have to get money so we can eat, so we can live. So
Thank God,
it's just an
otherwise it'd
imperative, right? But for some reason, the thought that all of humanity is going to die, and you can see that coming, changes things, but also doesn't change things at all.
Well, that takes me to another instance of casual cultural insensitivity.
Cool.
And, this is Tyler talking. It's not necessarily Robert talking. Tyler says that Jason had picked up a pound of Guatemalan coffee on his way. And Tyler says, as the narrator, the Guatemalans, indifferent to the end of the world, were still harvesting coffee. I mean, you're still going to work every day. You still went to school. Like, what are you talking about?
I remember that line, and I couldn't decide whether what he was doing there was actually saying the Guatemalans were indifferent to whatever, or if he was making a point that life was continuing on.
Okay, maybe.
I don't know if
maybe.
he was saying it was specific to the Guatemalans. I was struggling with how to read that too.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair to say. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's some other third thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
The optics aren't great.
No.
Well, right, because it's like that's their.
Because he didn't say that about, like, the San Franciscans
Is it only
kept going on.
Guatemalans that are doing? Is no other coffee being produced? So we can't
prefer
say.
Ethiopian coffee.
I had Ethiopian coffee this morning.
Also, it's there. Everyone is still doing their livelihood, and like Tyler's mad at people who kill themselves. He's mad at people who go to church. He's mad at Carol for drinking, and then he's like eye rolling at Guatemalans for harvesting coffee.
Or it's like Molly points this out. His girlfriend points this out at some point that I don't even know if you can say he's angry or whatever. Like, he doesn't connect with it in any way. He just sort of he is literally observing life on Earth and not acting like it has anything to do with him.
Like Dexter.
Yeah.
He's just
it's a little
smile like a human and do the medicine.
And I do, while I'm not jumping up and down about Molly as a character, I think in that moment she is definitely a stand-in for the reader.
She makes good points.
She makes good points. Yeah. She reads him for filth.
She sure does.
And I think she says a lot of things that the reader is probably thinking, like, why are you just like, you're just floating through your day-to-day, just watching what's going on and being mad that Diane doesn't love you
doing
back.
whatever Jason wants you to do.
Yeah.
I mean.
I have a question about Tyler's job. So at one point it says that he's doing a shift in the ER, but he's also like a GP. Those two, you can't be both, right?
Yeah, that was weird. I think
he volunteers.
But like,
but his
emergency
job was
medicine
in
is
the
a
ER
specialty,
before
though.
he went to perihelion. So I mean, he must just be a generalist. I guess, and just got a job in the ER. But I think you have to, don't you?
Yeah,
have
like
to train
ER
to be an ER doctor.
Emergency medicine is way different from being like, you know, I've got a
family
cold.
practitioner. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but like it seems like
I don't know. I mean, maybe he had done a ER rotation and
you have to medical school, but I don't think that qualifies you to like be an ER doctor.
Maybe our
I
doctor
don't
friends
know.
can let us know.
I was curious about him. Like a couple times, it seemed like he just showed up to volunteer at hospitals, and I was like, I know, like
I don't think that's how it works.
like in a major global crisis, I get that it's like all hands on
It's
deck.
better than nothing, I guess.
But I also do wonder, like, someone could just show up. In like the way this is portrayed is as though you can just show up and be like, I'm a doctor, and they'll be like, doctor, thank God you're here.
I feel like you have to pass the boards wherever you are.
Yeah,
like,
but again, we're in a global emergency, so things are different.
Yeah.
But I still am like, would you be able to just be like, I volunteer as doctor, and they're like, okay,
you're a dermatologist. This is a stomach cancer. Like they don't translate.
Old Robert's grasp on how the medical practice works might be a little thin.
But again, the sky is falling. Doctors, please email us nicely and weigh in on what would happen if the sky were falling and you showed up at a hospital in another state and said, I volunteer as doctor.
This family medicine doctor is like, let me take care of, do a shift at Grady. I'm going to take care of these bullet wounds.
Yeah.
Oh, here, I'm just going to help you with your
He
MS.
does a lot of gunshots. He does handle a lot of gunshots.
Yeah, he knows gunshots, and suddenly he's doing MS work.
Yeah.
Well, he does at least say he's not qualified to do the MS work.
He does.
And so that's at least explained in Universe, where Jason is like, I can't trust anyone else. Which, okay.
A neurologist.
Tyler, what is the matter with you? Tyler, giving Molly a key to his apartment where he keeps these medical files on Jason, and she's like got his computer password and stuff. I was so confused by that.
Oh, Tyler definitely strikes me as the type of person not to have a password on that computer.
It's the end of the world.
Can you even not have a password? I mean, I guess the only computer I really use is my work password.
The old desktop I used to have, no, you could just open it right up.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
right. That's
depends.
true.
I mean,
2005. Yeah.
You know, I think partners tend to know like our phone passcodes and things like that.
Yeah, but this is like he won't ever talk to her when she asks questions. He's always like, absolutely not. That's medical privilege. I can't talk about it. You know, I mean, he's like a wall when it comes to conversations, and he's very good at being a wall. And then he like just leaves notes and stuff about Jason's condition for where she can read them.
Also, he catches her looking on the computer.
She lies.
Knows that he has Jason's medical information in that computer, and then is like, Jason's calling me. I gotta go. She's like, I'll just stay here. And he's like, all right.
Yeah. And it is also a pretty good scene when he like quasi confronts Molly about that, and then she goes on this incredible like gaslighting tear where she's definitely gaslighting him, but what she's saying is also true.
Yeah,
it's actually I think a really good scene of what a manipulative partner could accomplish in that
and
situation.
like how those like little if you have no trust in your relationship, how those little squabbles can go.
Yeah.
Like, well, why does it feel like we're going to talk about this all night if you don't care about it anymore? You know, like just very passive aggressive.
Yeah,
and it was good. It was a good scene.
It was good. It's a good scene because the characters are kind of bad, but they have occasionally these really good conversations that feel very real.
That's when she reads him with filth, right? Yeah. She does it then and when she he confronts her about the betrayal.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I wouldn't want to believe that my partner was finding the sensitive medical information, but.
Well, I wouldn't either, but I was thinking like, you know, Kevin and I have client files around here, but also like we're married and we both live here.
That's
like she doesn't live there.
Right.
And you know, we're both lawyers, so we both like understand why it is. We're both bound by the same rules that say don't rifle through and steal information out of someone else's files. So yeah, I was just thinking like, yes, you should trust your partner, but also you have to protect your patient's confidentiality, which he seems to really understand in the context of verbal communication.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's weird.
I was just thinking about the thought that ran through my mind while you were talking was Jason's take on Molly. And he calls her hick.
Yes.
And trashy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And all this stuff. And it's like, she works for Parahealing.
That made her so much more interesting in my mind, like smoking a cigarette, like
birthing cows and stuff.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's some characterization. More than we get for other characters.
But it's also just like she didn't go to Harvard or wherever you went. And, you know, it was just such it was such a stupid thing to say. And it's so mean.
I have a list of the women in this book.
I have lists right here.
If anyone...
I forgot to list the one that lived down the hall from him was also...
Giselle, the sex worker?
A sex worker.
I've got her. Don't you worry.
I forgot about her.
The sex worker with a literal heart of gold.
But Okay, so with the casual, maybe we should move to casual.
Sure, let's move to casual misogyny.
Because there's not really. I didn't find like a particular punctuating misogynist moment. I mean, I have a few contenders, but I do find it's just sort of like casually woven.
But when you
throughout
list
the book.
all the female characters, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Diane. I've got them, I think, more or less in the order they're mentioned. Diane, cultist and sister of genius. Why does Tyler love her? We don't know.
We can't know.
And I do think the
Pretty?
unifying threat,
Her smile.
she's
Her
a
smile, Haley.
Haley, she's a diamond among zircons. So I did think like the unifying thing between the three women that he's involved with that we really meet is proximity. His neighbor,
Yeah.
his other neighbor, his secretary.
You mean his office furniture?
Oh.
His efficient office furniture.
Yeah. Okay, so Diane.
And then she calls herself office furniture.
I know.
That made me more okay with it because, like,
Yeah, because she's like referring to herself the way he saw her, and she wasn't wrong. His mom, a widowed housekeeper who is not using her MBA. And we don't know why she's not using. She has an
No, it
MBA
doesn't
from
make
Berkeley.
any sense. And I don't think she's actually cleaning their house. She's their housekeeper. So she's running the staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
and it's
Like
just,
a Downton housekeeper.
Yes.
Got
and
it.
it's also like Carol was a specialist medical doctor and also does not practice.
Right.
And
These
next,
women have achievements, but they can't use them.
next on the list is Carol, E.D. Lawton's drunk wife who is not using her MD. Then we have Holly, a girl at a party who monologues at Tyler about, quote, every movie she has seen in the past 12 months, which I absolutely love because every...
Yeah, let's talk about movies.
Yeah. Well, also, like, what woman hasn't had the experience of a man coming up and...
Thank you.
It's like the scene in Barbie
The
when
Godfather.
the president is like,
The Godfather?
Are you guys watching The Godfather?
Her accent. Yeah.
Okay. Candace, Tyler's almost fiance from college, who we never really meet.
She was tall,
But
right?
she figured out they didn't want to say I love you anymore before he did. It was such a weird way to describe someone you're almost engaged to.
It was really weird.
Yeah.
Giselle, his neighbor, who is a sex worker, who he wonders why she doesn't just work at Walmart instead. Walmart wages, notoriously high.
Great work environment.
Yeah. Shelly, Jason's personal assistant. That's all we know. Jason's PA. Molly, Tyler's receptionist and girlfriend. Quote, a polite, professional, efficient piece of office furniture. And then we have Ibu Ina, who is admittedly a competent medical doctor, but she is also a mommy lady for Jason, or for Tyler.
Yeah.
She's a mommy lady. And he describes her as, if the Amish had settled in West Sumatra, they might have produced something like Ibu Ina. Something.
Which I don't understand that description.
Yeah.
I don't either.
What does that mean?
She doesn't like technology?
Does that mean she's like got dark skin and wears her hair in a bun with a bonnet
Could
over
not
it?
figure
Like,
out what
I don't
the
know.
hell he was talking about when he
I
said
don't know
that.
what that means.
No, she's her very own thing. She wasn't developed. What?
Yeah. I can only refer to this person in front of me through comparison to other things that are more familiar to me.
Yeah.
And she's mainly a vehicle for us learning about one.
Yeah.
Yes. I do, however, think she is someone with some agency. She does have an actual accomplishment, which is
Yes.
building a medical clinic in a difficult environment.
Yeah, that's true.
She does get him out of there. I mean, she does some stuff. Which
She does some stuff. I think she is the most
But yes,
realized
mommy
character. We have Mrs. Tuckman, Tyler's patient and, quote, the wife of a staff engineer.
Oh, I forgot about her.
Who
forgot
is
about her, too.
suffering from anxiety and depression and wants more or different meds. And Tyler kind of gaslights her, writes her a different prescription for the same drug, and hopes to himself that the new name of the new prescription will hopefully have a placebo effect. He does feel bad about it. He says he feels like something of a fraud. But, he thinks to himself, well, she's anxious and depressed. Who isn't? And it's like, thank you for the medical sexism.
Yeah.
Moving on. Then we have Jody, the 10-year-old daughter of the hotel proprietor toward the end of the book when the stars come back. And Tyler tells us that she is plain but pretty. She's 10.
Wide-faced,
She's
I think.
supposed to be-
Broad-faced? I can't remember what he said.
Yes, broad
How
face.
dare she not be beautiful?
Plain but pretty. She's 10. Is she supposed to be glamorous? Like, she's 10. She just woke up, Tyler.
That reminds me of when he said that Diane didn't need makeup.
Oh,
Well, she's a diamond
doesn't
among
need it.
zircons.
She doesn't need it, Lori.
She doesn't need it. So when we got to the part about, like, Haley, I agree with you that this is very readable. It's not a slog at all. But when I got to the part where he described Molly as efficient, polite office furniture, I just closed it. I was like, I need a fucking break. I need a fucking break. Can we talk some more about space? And then I thought, Haley, about how you've said before, why even have a woman? Like, don't need this. I mean, I guess we needed some way for the medical information to leak, but it could have just been
Pull an Asimov.
Is it meant to be? Because Tyler very clearly has issues relating to other human people. I mean, is it supposed to be an insight on how he sees other people, or is it supposed to be a comment on her? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know.
If this book wasn't science fiction, then yes. But because this book is doing so much more that I think he spent a lot more time on, maybe? Like, I don't know.
I think that's fair, because he's clearly trying to craft both.
He's doing a lot. It's hard to do hard science.
And like a domestic drama. I think he's trying to do both. And so I think you're right. Like, he put a lot of effort into that. And
I also just remembered why Carol drinks. It's because of that latent homosexuality.
My God. Okay, I have that somewhere.
At least there's a reason to it, and not just drunk, human, drunk.
Well, okay.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No.
Right when we were getting to the... Did we get to Molly yet? Oh, yeah.
Get to what?
She was office veteran chair. Then we got to the little girl.
Yeah, that's the end of my list.
Okay.
Yeah, Jodie's the end of my list.
It does not pass the Bechdel test.
Oh, sure doesn't.
Well, I had a note in my book.
Unless you count Carol's letters to Belinda.
I had this note where Jason tells Tyler that Diane's been getting her period for a year. And I was like, is this some kind of reverse Bechdel test?
She's been getting her period for a year. And Tyler's like, she didn't tell me.
How could you not know?
How many of your 12-year-old male friends did you tell when you got your period?
And Amy, that was a good segue to my note about the other unrequited love story. Carol's love for Belinda.
Oh, Carol.
Bless.
I think it's so weirdly, like, okay.
Do you think she had a hairbrush with her hair?
It explains her drunkenness, but it's also like so weirdly wedged in. And then also imagine being in love with someone and keeping them close to you through domestic servitude and financial dependence.
You know who writes lesbian love stories great? Middle-aged white men.
They do, because they know women.
They know what two women feel. They know.
I mean, it's basically like just like write a man, but give them a
Long
woman's
hair.
name. Yeah, long hair,
Yeah.
boobs.
Yeah.
Carol.
Drunk.
When did Carol get her medical degree? In between all this wooing of ED.
And she practiced as a specialist. So that means she'd have to be, 26 when you graduate from medical school.
Yeah.
At least 3 or 4 years for residency.
Yeah.
At least a couple years of practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she died when she was 6. No. The mom died when she was 16.
I mean, I guess Belinda also had an MBA, so I guess they all could have met later in life.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's
I
possible.
thought they met in school.
That's what I thought. That's
Yeah.
why I was so confused. I was like, what were these people doing all this
Yeah, I
time?
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't worry about it too much.
Anyway.
It's very timey-wimey.
It is.
I did a lot.
Don't
Well, yeah.
worry about it.
And
Also,
it's
how old
unclear-
are all these people at the end of this book? I can't.
It's unclear when this takes place, too.
Yeah.
I think it's about now
Yeah.
because there's a scene in the perihelion years where Tyler says the moon landing was over 60 years ago. So we can assume it's less than 70 years ago. So that would put us, like, if we did 2025, like we might be like 2030 maybe.
Okay.
Or somewhere around there.
But, like-
the moon landing was 1964, right?
Yeah. No, 69.
69?
Yeah. Yeah, because Belinda's dad, though, was born in 1952. And I was like, whoa.
Because there were some references to things that sounded like technology that we might not have.
Like a terminal instead of a computer.
Yeah,
It's just
stuff-
like
stuff
vaguely
like
now.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's roughly now or a few years in the future. My dad was born in 1952. So
Yeah.
I kind of thought that the kids in this book were about my age.
Well, no, but Belinda's dad.
Oh, Belinda's
Yeah,
dad.
yeah, it was
so
born in
Belinda is
1952.
like my
So it'd be
age.
like
Yeah.
So my mom was born in 45. So that's like she had a kid when she was supposed to around 20.
supposed to then,
That would be Belinda. And then Belinda had kids when she was 20. So whenever that is.
but somehow got her MBA. And
That'd still be kids that were born in the 80s.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had the impression they were about our age.
Interesting.
It was unclear, but yeah.
Okay, so then
Maybe
we'll
that's the
put it
point.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Right,
it's
'cause
roughly
we're alive now and we're our age.
Yeah, it's between 60 and 70 years after the moon landing.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's like
Yeah,
a little bit
that's
after
true.
now.
Yeah.
The
Yay.
perihelion years
Yay,
are a
math.
little
I
after
did
now.
math.
But yeah, so I think they're roughly our age.
Okay, cool.
And they were like biking around town like
Yeah.
Stranger Things kids.
Yes.
Do you guys want to talk about von Neumann machines?
A little
Ooh,
bit,
yeah.
I would.
Those are the replicators.
I looked those up.
Yeah. I looked them up too and I went, okay. Oh, okay.
I was like, if you say so.
So a machine does its own resource gathering and replicates itself.
So it becomes a form of life in that way.
Right.
if that's one of the ways that you just find life, yeah.
And my soap stuff spoiler, is all these little machines meeting in the vast of space.
Oh my God, you're a von Neumann machine too.
Oh my God, who's your daddy?
So I don't know if I understand them, but that Von Neumann, he was a smart guy.
It's a cool idea.
So I think very broad strokes. Feel free to email us kindly. So the Martians develop von Neumann machines, and then one brings them to Earth in possibly something of a cunning plot to get Earth to launch them.
Like
which
a
never
Nalgene
really
bottle.
materializes into anything.
Well, and I think they think that's what's going on. Maybe that was what's going on, but nothing in this book, nothing comes of it. But I mean, I feel okay about that. Like, you could have an idea to do a particular thing for a particular reason, and then it just isn't a big deal because other people had already done it. It turns out, surprise.
And
so
plus, we created their entire society.
So we do bear some responsibility for this. So
Yeah.
they have these von Neumann machines. The idea is that they'll get Earth to shoot them into deep space, or I don't know. Does deep space have a definition? Far away, but still in our solar system.
Past the Oort cloud.
The Oort cloud.
Close to the core. I don't know.
And they will replicate, and then they will start collecting information and beam it back to Earth. And then we can learn things about the hypotheticals.
Right.
Which seems like a real long shot if you ask me. But then they get out there, and then we find out something is eating them. And it turns out it's von Neumann machines that have been sent by some other intelligent species that are older and bigger and are like, oh, little guys, and they eat them.
Because it's apparently inevitable that intelligent civilizations will create von Neumann machines and send them into space.
Yes.
I found that hard to swallow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been alive for 40 years and never thought of it.
I never once. Never once.
Dyson machines? Yes.
Catch up, Haley.
Hold on. I'm going to put a shield around me.
I've got a whole box of von Neumann machines in my closet. I'm just waiting for the right time to shoot them into space.
And I'm going to get the Martians to do it.
in a box labeled Mentos, von Neumann machines.
Label on the outside. Definitely not von Neumann machines. So they send those out there. They start sending back data. Jason's receiving the data. And then this is a good opportunity to talk about the fourth
Yay!
age.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Jason becomes a little receiver.
Yes, which is, I thought, very interesting.
was
His
interesting.
eyeballs? Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
his glittery eyeballs. That kind of makes me think of like a little bit like Annihilation, like he's becoming
changing.
some other thing. So let's talk about the fourth age. You got go. Somebody who really wants to talk about the fourth age. Amy.
Okay. So, Martians have developed the ability to inject a thing into you, which is basically bacteria that rebuilds your cells and your telomeres and your DNAs and all those other science bits and gives you another 70 years of life, basically.
It is like the serums in not only Jupiter Ascending, but also Death Becomes Her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you can defy death for a while and apparently get super healing powers and things like that. And it also apparently puts you on some other psychological level. Like suddenly you're much more empathetic.
You're a little bit of a different person.
Yeah.
You're mostly the same person, but a little bit different.
So it's like how you become a little bit of a different person when you go from childhood to adolescence,
Sure,
adolescence to adulthood, and then adulthood to the fourth state. That's what the fourth means. It's a fourth
age of life.
age. Yeah. Stage. Yeah.
Stage, yeah.
Yeah.
Stage, yeah.
And so Diane, Jason, and Tyler, they all become fourths.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same
Importantly,
time.
not at the
Jason
same
does
time.
it first so that he can heal his MS, his super MS that he has. Diane does it because she's dying from the cow disease.
And what's his name? Tyler does it to her. 'Cause
Tyler does it to her.
She's dying.
Without her consent.
Yeah.
And then Tyler does it because he wants to go live with Diane in space. Yeah. And she's already got it.
And I'm going to say this. He does it without her consent, but if I were dying like that, give me that fourth age
No,
juice.
I'd be all about it. I think I'd be all about it.
I think that's fine.
But at the same time, he also injected her with a Martian disease she didn't know existed.
Yeah. And she's very religious. She might not have been okay with
It
that.
was a big thing. It was a very selfish move on his part.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he did it with what he thought were good motives, but I had a lot of thoughts about him doing that.
Yeah.
And then Jason explains to Tyler that really the fourth, this whole thing you put in your body to become the fourth, is really just a software platform on which you can graft other programs. And Jason puts one in himself that makes him a receiver for these von Neumann machines.
It's like if you're a fourth and you have iOS,
Yeah.
and then there's like later versions of iOS, and Jason takes a later one.
Yeah.
But like then it overwhelms his nervous system, I guess.
This is where my big question is. So he talks about how the von Neumann machines out in the universe are eating our little von Neumann machines. And how, since he now basically is a receptor for these von Neumann machines, somehow the evil von Neumann machines find him and
they're not evil.
in a way of differentiating.
Okay, got it.
Ours versus theirs. Theirs are now eating ours, and they find him. And my understanding is that they are using him. They're like trying to change him into one of them, because that's what they do. They change whatever receptors they find. They change them into them.
I got kind of wishy-washy on like what they
It wasn't clear, but that's why they're rewiring his brain. He talked about, because he's like, because he's part of this network now.
Oh, that makes sense. I kind of just thought he was overloaded by the data he was receiving, like when Donna becomes a Time Lord, but her mind can't hold all of that without like burning her up from the inside out.
Or when R2 puts his thing into a strange computer and gets burnt.
Oh,
Sometimes it's too much. But I was very happy for Jason because all he wanted was to know things.
it's true.
So he
more
gets
input.
more
He
input.
just wanted more
I get
input.
it.
Jason lived the life he wanted to live.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
I feel bad for him though, because if he had lived a little bit longer, he could have gone to another planet.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
I think he was a virgin.
Oh,
I think he was
100%
probably fine with that.
The back of my book, several reviews, all describe him as celibate.
Yeah, which is interesting. He's just like, this is my whole life.
Well, in a long tradition of celibate super geniuses, Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, that's true.
Celibate
True.
super genius. Hercule Poirot. Celibate
True,
super
that's
genius.
true.
There's a long tradition of that.
That's true.
I wanted to tell you guys that I'm enjoying a mystery thing for the first time in my entire life. It is the show Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne.
Oh, it's so
it's
good.
so
good.
She is.
It's
You would love it, Amy.
It is like a monster of the week. Basically, she's on the lam from some bad guys, and she stops in towns and works odd jobs, but there's always a murder, kind of like Angela Lansbury always has murders in that main town.
Yeah.
But she is so likable, and there's so many cool guest stars, and Ryan Johnson from The Last Jedi like produces it. It's so good.
cool. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a Columbo.
Yeah, it is so
Is it like
good,
Miss
though.
Fisher's Murder Mysteries?
Probably, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen that. It's less cozy than like your.
Hers is very cozy.
Yeah, it's. I would say it's significantly less cozy. There's like sad violence and things in it, but it's overall like it's a comedy. It's pretty funny.
Like there's one episode where it's Chloe Sevigny is the leader of a singer of a punk band, and John Jarniel from the Mountain Goats. Like it's just
Oh, that's
cute.
kinda cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's so funny. Yeah. Okay.
So I was
celibate.
actually, in relation to the fourths, I was going to ask you guys if you would do that. Would you take Martian drugs to get another 70
For
years?
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Kevin? Okay.
Kevin says sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like an awfully hard transition.
Yeah.
So if I watched someone do it before I did it, I think it might give me a little like their entire skin sloughs off.
Yeah. Well, it's like going to a sauna and getting it scrubbed off.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
It would be hard, but
I'd do it.
if I could do it, I wonder if it's like, do you get reborn as like a 25-year-old, or is it going to be the saggy 40-year-old
It
body?
seems like saggy 40-year-old.
Yeah, it seems like wherever
Yeah.
you do it is.
I guess that's fine.
I mean, I'd hang on to saggy 40-year-old for a
yeah,
while.
yeah.
I want to
yeah.
see what happens to America, honestly. Like, that's just what I would keep going for.
I'm just curious.
I'd
Yeah.
like to stop needing a statin, and I think it would. I could eat all the cholesterol I wanted.
Do you think I would still be allergic to wine?
You're allergic to wine?
It's a histamine reaction to wine.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes wine gives me a stuffy nose. I take a Claritin if I'm planning on drinking some wine.
Do you think it would fix that?
Yeah, it seems like it pretty much fixes things. But then how do you end up dying of old age?
Well, I don't think it lasts forever.
Maybe it's like a Highlander and then you have to have your head cut off.
As we know, everything tends towards entropy. So nothing lasts forever.
That's true. I just wonder if you, like, once I was like 150 years old, would I need a statin again then? Would it just...
Or does it go downhill like all of a sudden, like you start aging rapidly?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
These are- see,
like when
I feel like-
Melisandre takes off her amulet.
Yeah. Crone.
What I kept thinking about was how this book, like this world he has created, is sort of ripe for expanded universe
Oh
shit.
yeah, like
You know?
yeah.
all the Highway Marauders is very like Mad Maxy.
Yeah, like all that, Mars, the next planet they go to.
I wanna read
and
more
then
about this Mars.
Diane's
Yeah,
life,
me too.
Jason's life, all these people. Like I think it would be really interesting to read all the little novels around this novel.
All right, we can start writing fanfic.
Give
we
us
go.
some novellas.
Here we go.
I'm going to write fanfic where Jason and Tyler get together.
I mean, they're all Ibu Ina says this, and it is very true. They're all three in love with each other.
It's true.
It's a polycule.
It's polycule.
A weirdly separated polycule with no sex. Almost no sex.
I bet Jason likes to watch
Oh,
it.
it's an ace polycule. What? This is the future liberals want.
That's true.
Listen, I want whatever makes people happy is the future that this liberal wants.
That's true.
Should we move on to our segments?
Yeah.
What's left of them?
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did want to mention briefly is that it was very difficult for me to find critical reviews of this book outside of Goodreads. If you look at like professional reviews or
gushing.
like blogs, blogs that do regular reviews, the reviews are just like, well, this book is great. And even our friend Jo Walton, her review was like, this is really good, you should read it. It's like 2 paragraphs. She's just I liked it and my son liked it and you'll like it too.
If I was going to review it, it would probably be, it wouldn't be gushing, I don't think, because that's not the business we're in, but it's a pretty good book.
The speculation, which is like speculation, but with no A and I instead of an A, speculation, blog has a good review that I think treats the book very fairly. Talks about pros and talks about cons. And that was really the only one that I could find outside of reader reviews on Goodreads or Amazon. And fully nowhere except for Goodreads did I find anybody complaining about the wooden female characters.
Oh, they were complaining about it on Amazon too.
Okay.
Yeah,
so like
also reader reviews.
Yeah, like informal reader reviews were complaining about it, but I couldn't find, like, I Googled spin and sexism I put sexism in quotes, and Google was like, are you sure?
Did you mean sexism?
We're not finding anything.
Some of the readers bought right into the misogyny of the week. Like, Diane's willing victimization by a simple-minded religious cult is believable. There are many brilliant fools, but not very engaging. After a decade or so of frustration, why doesn't Tyler just say chuck it and find himself a real woman who's not an easily duped doormat?
A real woman? She's a diamond among zircons.
Although I appreciate that sentiment of get over her.
I don't know. I do think he should get over her.
Yeah, I do too.
But I don't think she's a doormat. I think she was left with a very big existential crisis and filled it with whatever she thought filled it.
And her parents had no interest in her at all.
No, none.
I didn't feel a lot about her as a character because she doesn't do much.
Yeah.
And I don't have sympathy for cult people, but
I do.
Yeah.
It could happen to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But I also like that Tyler carried around like a trick phone just for her.
Oh, he had a bat phone. Yep.
Okay. Do you guys have a feminist favorite? I genuinely could not find one.
I do. Molly getting her cash and her suicide pills and saying bye.
Women's rights and women's wrongs.
Molly was my feminist fave for a while.
She stood up to him.
Yeah, she absolutely
took control of her
him out on
future.
his shit, took control of her own future. She's like, this guy's not a safe bet, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But I also liked Ibu Ina.
Yeah, she's cool.
Ibu Ina was cool. Yeah. Okay. Misogynist moment.
I just listed the female characters.
Yeah.
I think that counts. There's not one overarching, like, this is it.
I have 2 moments. Number 1, I do feel that even though he is friends with Giselle, his sex worker neighbor, he is judging her because he throws in the quote, mortality trumps morality. And I thought, he's not religious, so the only place that's coming from is like a personal view that like women shouldn't
sleep
sell
around.
themselves or whatever. So I thought that was stupid. Like, maybe she likes the work. Maybe she likes the money. Shut up, Tyler. And then the other one was toward the end when they're trying to escape the port and they're describing the port. The port was enclosed and fenced, but ancillary businesses had grown up around it like whorehouses outside a military base. Okay. Any other metaphor would have worked there. And I read this to Kevin and he was like, they could have said title pawns or payday lenders outside a military base.
Car dealerships.
Yeah, no kidding.
Do whorehouses grow up outside of military bases?
I mean, like the concept of a camp follower is like a thing
in Savannah that are not
I
surrounded
was
by
like, I feel like
whorehouses.
I feel like nowadays military bases are probably not, but I remember like my only frame of reference. Yeah, that's my only frame of reference is Game of Thrones camp followers, and I had to look it up.
Yeah,
he was just writing along, and he remembered something his dad said, a World War II vet, and he's just like, yeah.
I mean, I guess you do hear about comfort women and things like that,
but mainly in like World War II, Vietnam.
Yeah. Like this is like in a few years.
Yeah.
Actually, this is ultimately in several years. Like once they've sort of understood the spin. Now they have the arch. Now they can travel to other planets.
Yeah.
So this is like at least like 10, 20 years in the future, I think, by this point.
I think bars around military bases is probably more accurate.
You know, I did hear about the horrible things that would sprout up around when they would build like World Cup stadiums, though. But that was more like trafficking, I think.
That's also just tourism and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
it's so transitory, those World Cup things.
that's
I don't
true.
know.
Yeah.
But
It's just
yes,
a
but
weird thing
yes,
to
yes,
include.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any other metaphor. There are
Right.
lots of things that crop up around other things that you could pick.
Hoe houses.
Like fleas on a dog's butt. Like,
Like white on rice.
yeah.
Whorehouses. Okay. Any boob talk?
One time, Diane clasps her hands under her breasts.
Okay.
We're told. We have to be told.
It's so chaste.
The only other
Yeah.
thing is Molly's shirt clings to her alluringly, which I could only imagine meant he could see some sort of womanly outline.
Yeah, and I like I
But it's very sexless.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
he mentions like going to bed with Molly, but in a way that makes it
I don't
sound like
remember any of the sex.
Yeah, it's like sneezing. It's just like a very transactional thing that he does.
Yes.
Yeah.
and I don't mind like when a character is admiring their partner, like
Sure.
that kind of thing.
Sure.
I'm really typically not bothered by that, but yeah, there's nothing in this that's very physically objectifying, but there was
Yeah.
one that
Of anyone.
I mean, there are plenty of times where
I mean,
someone's
describes looks.
plain but
Yeah, he
pretty.
describes
One no
looks.
win gets the
Um,
most physical description.
Yeah.
He's
over and over
Maybe
again.
he's attracted to one.
he likes Martians.
I would also read that fanfic.
This is my favorite one. Diane's face was alive as an unplucked berry. I just said, what?
Oh! I've
As soon
got
as
one.
you pluck a berry, it's dead. It's like a Christmas tree.
Unplucked berry.
Its days are numbered.
Unplucked.
Unplucked.
I have one funny thing. Let me find it real quick.
I guess an unplucked berry would be my fantastical food.
Oh, he mentions orgasms when he's talking about the
That's right.
repeaters.
That's right. I remember this.
Oh, and then one time Jala says, "What will I do? Fuck beautiful women, and quite possibly a few ugly ones too."
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, what else will you do if you're rich at the end
What
of
a
the world?
strange character that was. Because Ibu Ina goes to great lengths to describe him as not being vicious.
Yeah.
But then he just hauls off and smacks that kid on that boat
Yeah.
for no apparent
I
reason.
mean, I wouldn't call my parents vicious, and they slap me in the face plenty of times.
That's fair.
I'm not saying it's an okay thing to do, but also like,
What happens?
doesn't necessarily make him a vicious person.
yeah, right. Like,
Okay, I found it. Some few would reach the icy halo of a nearby star and begin the cycle anew, this time gathering fresh information, which they would eventually send home in bursts of data, brief digital orgasms.
jizzes of data.
Which we receive.
Poor Jason, he just got too much jizz.
Yeah. Jizzbot 2000.
Okay, soap stuff.
I thought I wrote down mementos, school, because I think that's the biggest soap stuff thing in the book. But,
Oh, yeah.
Also, the sending cell-sized organism out into space, and they happen to find other cell-sized organisms that are exactly the same. And then that just seems like
Fancy
a soapy
meeting
thing.
you
I
here.
know, it's a soapy thing.
I mean, an alien coming down to Earth.
It's a long-lost twin is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any, Haley?
Just the alien coming to Earth and upending, going to the Grand Canyon.
Oh,
It didn't mean a soapy end.
I really would have liked some one chapters
Yeah.
where we get to hear from him.
Yes.
He seemed so interesting. And I did like the detail about him reading books that Tyler
Yeah.
brought him sci-fi novels about Mars.
I'm
That was
sorry,
a lot of
I'm
fun.
sorry he had to read Stranger in a Strange Land.
I wanted to know so bad what one thought of Stranger in a Strange Land, because I was like, I've read it too. I really would have enjoyed that. So mine are the twist at the end that Carol was in love with Belinda.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mementos, school.
And then
Chekhov's lesbianism.
Diane thinking Tyler is their brother for no particular reason.
Oh, yeah.
If he had turned out to be their brother, that would have been the best soap thing of
That
all
would've been
time.
great.
I know.
After they slept together, very Star
That would
Wars.
it definitely made it Star Wars.
I have a couple of future things. So sometimes we talk about like future things they got right or wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was funny that Robert Charles Wilson thinks that 5 or 10 years from now we'll still have airline pillows, because someone had an airline pillow, and I was like,
Oh.
I haven't seen a pillow on a plane, like a domestic flight. No way, you're not getting a pillow. And then they're still mailing checks. Tyler
mailing checks.
mails Diane a bunch of post-dated checks, which listen, this is not legal advice. A post-dated check is not real.
It doesn't mean anything.
No. You write a check, you wrote a check.
Yeah.
You can put
Whatever
the year
date you want.
3022 on it.
Commercial paper.
Diane can go cash that check.
Yeah.
Any other things? Let's see.
He did not foresee thumb drives of any kind.
Yeah.
Everything was on optical disc
Oh, yeah.
or just plain old paper, which was delightful.
It makes you wonder how much things were like getting wrong about the future. I love it.
It also makes me wonder what one traveled with. Like, how much bulky archive did he bring with him? Like, we would have it on a little thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it was like a lot.
A lot of information. So I'm
Interesting.
Yeah, the data storage
I bet
was
they
not
were zip
something
files,
that was
though.
well thought out.
Also, they don't seem to have text messaging.
They do not seem
Which
to have
we
text messaging.
definitely
Everybody's
had.
calling each other all
In
the time.
2005, we had text
I was texting
messaging.
in 2003. I
For
remember.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess it was the, is it IO9? What was the text type?
Oh,
T9?
T9, yeah.
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 IO9 is a website.
Yeah.
Where you have to like punch the number
Yeah, like
5 times to get
T
the
would
T.
be SSSS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Me too.
2000.
Yeah. I had my Nokia brick I was
So
texting
I could
on.
see where they wouldn't be relying on that, I guess. And they also still had pagers. I don't know if doctors may still use pagers.
I think they do,
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Okay. Second to final question. Did you like the book?
Yes.
I did, and I would recommend this book to people that don't like sci-fi. I think it'd be a good way to get into
Yeah.
it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think people that don't like sci-fi would still like this. Yeah, I thought that the premise was really interesting and the writing was good and the family drama was almost good.
Almost.
But the problem was like I don't need like a character to be like a good person or a likable person, but I do need to care about them. And I
Yeah.
didn't care about Jason or Diane or Tyler.
Yeah.
I think I was most interested in outcomes for one and for Ina because they were just like they just seemed like interesting.
The Tyler character to me just is the next in a long line of these kinds of, like, Sophie's Choice has this kind of narrator, Great Gatsby has this kind of narrator, where they're just empty vessels.
I wonder
they are
why,
just
though. Like, why not
eyeballs.
just tell it through Jason? Like,
It's-
I
yeah.
woke up with genius in my head.
I think he's supposed to stand in for us.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, because he's a doctor, he's a regular guy, you know, but
Yeah, I think that's right. I just I think it was a little bit of a swing and a miss.
I
but
agree.
I do still like this book and I think other people would like this book.
Yeah,
And I think a variety of people would like this
agreed.
book.
Yeah.
He's definitely better at writing human beings than a lot of the people we read.
Agreed.
That's true.
Yeah.
As
I mean,
we often say, it could be worse.
There is some feeling in here.
yeah, he was trying his best.
And
So.
some of those scenes were great. I mean,
Yeah.
he had some moments of greatness there.
The moments of anger seem to be the ones that feel most authentic.
There was that one good scene of action, too, where the guys come to the clinic to burn it and he has to hide in the ditch. And
Oh,
In has to
yeah.
go run away. I
that
thought that
was
was
good. That was good. And I think those future scenes where Tyler is undergoing the fourth procedure, you do really feel like the physicality of it, I
It's
think, is
very immediate,
yeah,
Yeah.
very immediate. You can feel like, oh, I'm in these like horrible sticky sheets and I'm so thirsty and my skin is sloughing off and it is very
Yeah,
evocative.
he has moments of good turns of phrase too. I liked. This is also boat talk. He's talking about Jason. His overlarge jeans hung on his hips like the rigging of a becalmed ship.
Yes.
Boat talk. Okay. Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
I think Star Wars because Tyler basically sleeps with his sister.
I think Star Wars because we have galactic conflict, we have twins, and we have an evil father.
Twins.
Yeah, I put Star Wars because literal spaceships and other planets and ice and space.
There we go. It's unanimous.
Yay!
Okay.
Sometimes it is.
Coming up next time, The Sparrow,
Oh, yeah.
which did not win a Hugo but was nominated. It was a finalist.
Mhm.
And when we posted our update, listener Kevin on Instagram said that it is too similar to A Case of Conscience by James Blish, which we will eventually get to.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, that's a data point. We'll look into it.
Logged.
Yeah,
Data point logged.
I read it 8 years ago.
Yeah, same. Something like that.
All I remember is Jesuits. So
I've never read it.
Oh, I remember it.
Oh, you're making a face. I thought people really like it.
Oh, I really like it.
Oh, okay.
It is also, I found it very, very troubling.
Oh.
But I was talking to my friend Kristen is the listener who suggested this book, and I said we can all be traumatized together as we all reread this, and she's like, I don't remember it being traumatizing, so maybe it's just me.
yeah, I
Oh.
remember. Yeah.
Well, find out next time. Stay tuned. Rate, review, subscribe. Stay tuned.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. All right.
And Happy New Year!
Happy New Year. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Hugo girl. Hugo girl. Hugo girl. A hilarious podcast.
Why didn't Teddy get in trouble for clicking during room tone?
Oh.
He's just a little guy.
He is a little guy. Look at his sweet wag.